7 years of marriage. The phrase my wife loved to say to me the most was, "Get out of my house." She said it because she was absolutely certain that I had no one to rely on in the city. No matter how wildly she played around, I wouldn't dare divorce her. But when she acted ambiguously with her male assistant for the 8th time, she pointed at the door with her usual coldness and said, "It is exactly what it looks like. If you can't stand it, you can get out of my house." While I stood there in a daze, a series of floating comments suddenly appeared before my eyes. "Brother, don't listen to her. The female lead is just angry. She only said that because you don't trust her. Just tell her you're jealous and she'll instantly drop to her knees and explain everything to you." For the first time, I ignored those words. I looked at Willow and said, "Fine." I turned around, went to the bedroom and started packing my things. The text before my eyes vibrated even more violently. "Brother, don't be impulsive. The female lead is just acting tough. She actually cares about you a lot. Male lead, if you just turn your head and look at her right now, her tears will fall instantly." My hands paused. Back then, I was the one who took the initiative to pursue Willow. She was our university's famous real-life Cinderella, beautiful with a tragic family background, top of her class for 3 consecutive years, and a national award winner. The number of guys who liked her was like a school of fish crossing a river, but they were all deterred by her eternally cold demeanor. I was the only one who persistently pursued her for 3 years, eventually plucking this unattainable flower from the high peak. After we made our relationship official, I didn't care about her eternal coldness. I felt that as long as I loved her enough, there would come a day when this iceberg would melt for me. Later, when I found out her parents had a terrible relationship and her mother had an affair as soon as Willow was old enough to understand, I looked at her with red eyes and promised, "No matter what happens, I will always be tolerant of you. I will absolutely never push you away." That night, Willow clung to me until dawn. As for those floating words that no one else could see, they appeared right after I proposed to Will. They told me the real reasons behind her unprovoked anger. They taught me what to do when she angrily kicked me out with red eyes. They told me she was a 10,000-year-old ice goddess and it required someone as warm and passionate as the sun, like me, to thaw her. At first, I believed this was a reward bestowed upon me by the heavens. Until one day, Willow came home smelling of another man. "They say she just wants to make you jealous." Brother, it's just a petty woman's trick. The first time Willow didn't reply to my messages and hung up my calls. "Keep calling, brother." Seeing your name flashing constantly on her screen is making the female lead thrill to death. Then there was the time her phone was turned off at 2 a.m. I searched everywhere she could possibly be in the pouring rain. When I finally returned home, I saw her being helped out of a car by her assistant. What did the female lead do wrong? She's just risking everything to win this contract so she can travel the world with you. Finally, today arrived. Unable to hold back any longer, I asked her, "The pictures of you kissing Carter were sent right to my phone. How do you explain that?" And then, it was my turn to pack my bags. Actually, this wasn't the first time I heard Willow say, "Get out of my house." After we got married, it was her favorite thing to say to me. She understood that I had no relatives in this unfamiliar city. Even taking the high-speed rail back to my hometown took 16 hours. She knew my parents were in poor health and she knew I was the type of person who only reported good news and hid the bad. So, whenever we argued, she would use this phrase, and once she said it, no matter how big the issue was, it magically became my fault. I still remember the first time she said it. I was completely stunned, sitting in the bedroom suffering in silence. 3 hours later, she came in, knelt before me with slightly red eyes and pleaded in a trembling voice, "Felix, I don't know why, but whenever I get angry, I act just like how my mother treated my father. To me, this place is only a home because you are here. I'm sorry, please don't leave. Please don't leave me, okay?" Looking at her fragile appearance, looking as if she would break at a touch, I forgave her without hesitation. After that, it became a vicious cycle. She would tell me to leave, I would hide in the room and she would come to apologize. I closed my eyes slightly. The door behind me suddenly opened. Willow grasped the doorknob and started to speak. "Felix." Her words came to an abrupt halt when she saw the suitcase on the floor. She snapped her head up, glared at me and let out a cold laugh. "Not bad. You've got some backbone this time. Hurry up and pack, then leave. Don't ruin my sleep." My body stiffened, but I didn't turn around. My hands just moved much faster. The words appeared before my eyes again. "Brother, turn around and look at her. Her tears are about to fall." If the male lead just turns around, the female lead will definitely hug and kiss him. The next plot points will have less misunderstanding. I guarantee the female lead is begging you not to go in her head right now. I stared at those lines of text, my breathing gradually suffocating. From falling in love to getting married, I had been pushed away by her time and time again. Yet I clung to her heartlessly like sticky taffy. I had lived this kind of life for 7 years. During one argument, she sarcastically asked me, "Felix, you even know how to spell self-respect?" She didn't understand that loving someone meant throwing away your self-respect. But now, I couldn't bring myself to love her anymore. I closed the suitcase, zipped it up and pulled the handle. I walked right past Willow, opened the door and strode out quickly. As I walked downstairs, those words flashed again. It's over. The brother is really angry this time. If the female lead doesn't make up with him fast, he really won't be coaxed back. Why is the female lead just standing on the balcony trying to look like a good wife? The brother is almost out of the residential complex. Just as I felt the urge to turn my head and look back, my phone rang piercingly. I looked at the name Willow and my heart trembled, but my hand honestly pressed the answer button. On the other end of the line, Willow's voice was freezing cold. Do you still want that bedside ornament? If not, I'm throwing it away. Those words punched me right in the heart, hurting so much I could barely breathe. The ornament she mentioned was actually a pair of ceramic dolls we made together on our first date. On the base, we had carved each other's names surrounded by a heart. She was even the one who insisted on adding the heart. All these years, no matter how badly we fought, she had never touched those dolls. But now, she was coldly saying she'd throw them away. The text popped up again. Brother, the female lead actually wants to ask, if you don't even want these things, are you really going to abandon her? A stubborn person needs a lover who won't leave. The female lead just wants confirmation that you won't leave her. Looking at those words, I forced out a trembling voice, throw it away. Willow didn't say another word and simply hung up. I dragged my suitcase out of the complex. I spent a hefty sum on an agent and rented an apartment within 3 hours. By the time I settled everything, it was already dawn. I lay on the bed feeling somewhat dazed, experiencing my first night without Willow in 7 years. The next day, as I walked into the company, my mind was still in a fog. Walking to my desk, I saw a Starbucks coffee waiting for me. Willow never bought me coffee. I turned to ask a colleague where it came from, only to see Willow and her assistant, Carter, walking into the office together. Carter smiled brightly. It's my birthday today. My director paid out of her own pocket to treat everyone to coffee. There will be sweets this afternoon, too. It was Carter's birthday and Willow was footing the bill. At that moment, everyone's eyes simultaneously fell on me. My hands, hanging by my sides, suddenly clenched into fists, my nails digging into my palms. A second later, I picked up the coffee cup. Under Carter's astonished gaze, I raised the cup toward him. Happy birthday, Assistant Carter. Carter said nothing. Willow looked at me and suddenly spoke. Team leader Felix, you're late today. Mind your work attitude. Don't be lazy just because you're an administrative handyman. Instantly, the looks directed at me shifted into a mix of pity and mockery. Bathed in those stares, I couldn't avoid feeling utterly humiliated. But mostly, my heart felt completely frozen. I forced myself to look straight at Willow. I already asked upper management for leave last night. I wouldn't want to trouble Director Willow with worrying about it. Willow pursed her red lips, giving me a deep look before turning on her heel and leaving. As soon as she left, a colleague who had never liked me sneered, Felix, so all that happiness you post on social media is fake. Your wife doesn't even respect you. But I guess it makes sense. She makes millions a year and you're just a handyman. You really married out of your league. He smugly walked out with his coffee. As he passed by, I didn't even try to hide my scoff. I looked down at the Americano on my desk, suddenly remembering something. When we first joined the company, both Willow and I were technical staff. However, the company had a strict policy against interdepartmental romance. To avoid suspicion and figuring that one of us needed to manage the household, I volunteered to transfer to the administrative department. After the transfer, I got off work on time and kept our home in perfect order. But now, from Willow's mouth, I was nothing more than a handyman. I remained silent as the text flashed before me again. Brother, don't listen to the gossip. The female lead just wanted a legitimate excuse to come to the admin department to see you, which is why she bought coffee for the whole company. Seriously, when she heard the assistant say it was his birthday, her eyes lit up. You have to believe me. I believe the floating text was telling the truth. But Willow clearly could have come to the admin department openly. Instead, she went out of her way to use the method that humiliated me the most just to see me. The heavy feeling in my chest refused to dissipate all morning. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't focus. It wasn't until noon that Senior Claire called me into her office. As soon as I entered, she pushed a file toward me. The branch in Germany had a key technical staff member poach half the team. I want you to organize this year's reports and find someone to go over there and take charge of the situation. My heart skipped a beat. A thought rushed to my head and the words blurted out of my mouth. Director, I used to be a technician. I volunteered to transfer to Germany. Both Claire and I were stunned by my words. Before this, I had never considered taking the initiative to leave Willow. But once the thought arose, it was unstoppable. Claire hesitated. Felix, this transfer requires signing a contract with the company. You can't return to the country for at least 5 years. Don't you want to discuss this with your director, Willow? I shook my head, my resolve strengthening. No need, Senior Claire. I can make my own decisions. I once gave up my career for my family. Now that I have a chance to start over, I don't want to miss it. Her gaze shifted. She looked at me for a long time before nodding. I will recommend you to the higher-ups. Don't let me down. I nodded vigorously, a wave of emotion rising within me. Right as I stepped out of her office, the text appeared again. No way, brother. Why do you want to go abroad? What will the female lead do? Female lead, hurry up and coax the brother. Otherwise, you're really going to lose your husband. No matter how tightly you hug his pillow, staying awake until dawn won't fix this. This time, I ignored what they said and threw myself into reviewing technical documents. Fortunately, even though I hadn't made much money over the last couple of years, I had maintained my good habits from university, occasionally reading advanced literature in the field. I spent the whole day recharging myself until my best friend Theo texted me. It's my birthday today. Can you make it? I immediately remembered and hurriedly replied. After work, I walked out of the building and saw Willow's silver Bentley parked across the street. I couldn't help but stop in my tracks. The floating text started blinking again. Brother, the female lead is here to pick you up. If you just stare at her for 2 seconds, she'll definitely come over obediently. Brother, aren't you angry anymore? We shouldn't hold grudges against an ambitionless, dry woman. Just as I stopped, someone suddenly bumped into me from behind, sending me crashing into the wall. I turned around to see Carter's bright, smiling face. Sorry about that, team leader Felix. I was in a rush to celebrate my birthday with the director. I didn't see you standing there. I was temporarily stunned. Carter continued, oh right. The director said she wants to take me to Juliet restaurant. I saw you posted pictures of eating there on social media. I don't suppose you have any dishes to recommend. Hearing this, my mind went blank because Juliet restaurant was where I successfully confessed my love to Willow. I had once told her very seriously, this is our private anniversary spot. Even if we break up in the future, you can never bring anyone else here. And back then, she had answered just as seriously, there won't be anyone else. Only you. My heart felt like it had been violently punctured, pain and coldness spreading outward from the wound. Before I could recover from Carter's words, Willow jogged over. She didn't even spare me a half glance. In her dark eyes, only Carter's reflection existed. She hurriedly asked, what happened? Are you hurt anywhere? It was pathetic. Even though I had clearly decided to go abroad and leave Willow, this scene still made my nose sting uselessly. Unable to stand the ambiguous atmosphere between them any longer, I took a half step back and turned to leave. The text before my eyes shook frantically. Brother, don't fall for the female lead's trick of playing hard to get. To test if you get hit, the guy practically ran a red light. The female lead clearly wants to comfort you. Why won't she just open her mouth? Can't she see the brother is mad? How can she care about someone else first? My pace quickened and the words blurred. It wasn't until I turned the corner, completely out of sight of the two of them, that I leaned against the wall and stopped. I rubbed my tear-blurred eyes forcefully and fiercely cursed at myself. Felix, you are so useless. Waiting until my emotions settled, I hailed a cab and rushed to the address Theo had sent me. When I pushed open the door to the private room, my 3 friends were sitting there, chatting happily. Nathan looked worried. You guys think Felix will actually show up? Normally at this hour, he's at home cooking for Willow. Harvey scoffed. The last time we talked was 2 months ago. He called to ask what kind of women's perfume to buy. Definitely for Willow. Theo rested his chin on his hand and sighed. I really hope he comes. He didn't show up for my last birthday. I even ordered the mango cake he likes this time. Hearing this, my nose stung. These were my 3 best friends. I'd almost forgotten what this felt like. We used to talk about everything under the sun. Whenever one of us was in trouble, the other 3 would instantly have their back. But I couldn't pinpoint when my friends and my life started revolving solely around Will. It was as if, in the blink of an eye, the center of my universe was reduced to one name, Willow. For Willow, I turned down their bro nights. I refused all-night karaoke sessions to comfort a heartbroken buddy. I declined our annual promise trips. I took a deep breath, suppressing the sourness in my eyes. The moment I opened the door, I flashed a smile, handed over the gift I had prepared long ago, and said, sorry I'm late. Happy birthday, Theo. The 3 of them were incredibly surprised to see me. Theo waved me over. Hurry up. We were just waiting for you. You must be tired after a day of work, right? We ordered a ton of your favorite dishes. I sat down amidst the laughter, feeling as if I had returned to the carefree days of the past. When it came time to cut the cake, Theo looked at me, then suddenly pulled me to the center. He looked at me earnestly. Felix, I'm giving this wish to you. I hope you will always be happy from now on. I froze, but meeting his comforting and encouraging gaze, my eyes grew hot. Felix, look, Theo said, even without romance, you still have the most lovable friendship. I pushed back the moisture welling in my eyes, closed them, put my hands together, and made a wish. Felix, may the years ahead be beautiful. You must live for yourself 1,000,000 times over. That night was the happiest time I had experienced in years. I didn't have to worry about missing Willow's messages. I didn't have to consider her obsession with cleanliness while gaming with my friends. I could drink freely, grab the mic, and loudly sing messy songs to release my emotions. I fell asleep dead drunk on the sofa. Vaguely, I heard Harvey say he would take me home. You guys go ahead, I remembered thinking. I hadn't yet told them that Willow and I had fought and separated. But when I regained consciousness, I only heard Harvey swearing profusely, using National Treasure-level profanities, mentioning Willow's name. I struggled to open my eyes, only to see Willow in her nightgown standing at the bedroom door. Beside her was Carter, fully dressed. Harvey, hot-tempered as ever, was still cursing at her. "I'm holding back from getting physical because you're a woman. Do you even remember what you said at your wedding? And now you're doing something this shameless. It's utterly disgusting." Willow's face was stone cold, looking at Harvey like he was a hoodlum. As for me, looking at the scene before me, my mind was entirely blank. The floating text went crazy again. "What is this?" She called the assistant over to deliver documents and they got caught red-handed. She couldn't wash herself clean even if she jumped into the Yellow River. "It's all that green tea assistant's fault. He kept saying there were important documents. What kind of documents need to be delivered in the dead of night?" Poor brother, waking up from a drunken stupor to see this. Female lead, hurry up and explain. "What's the use of staring at the diamond ring on your finger now?" Brother, following the text, I looked toward Willow and found that she was indeed looking at me. Our eyes met. She spoke first. "Felix, take your crazy friend and get out of my house right now. If you want to throw a fit, don't do it here." A sharp pain suddenly pierced my heart. The question I desperately wanted to ask forced its way out of my throat. "Right now, Willow, don't you have anything to explain to me?" She merely chuckled lightly, her voice laced with indifference and sarcasm. "Do I have to report my actions to you?" A jumbled mess of agony exploded in my chest, as if someone was crushing my heart. It hurt so much, Claire's throat, my vision darkened and I couldn't breathe. Mixed with the alcohol, the feeling suddenly made me want to vomit. I covered my mouth, stumbling to find a trash can, but the moment I looked down, I clearly saw the pile of ceramic shards inside. It was the 2 dolls from the nightstand. I stared at them, gripping the edge of the trash can, and threw up until the world spun, as if I needed to vomit out my very heart and lungs to feel better. "Felix," Harvey rushed to my side in a panic, gently patting my back. From start to finish, Willow stood at the bedroom door, not moving a single inch. I sensed Harvey was about to explode with rage again and quickly pulled him back. But as I looked up, I saw the stubborn expression on his face. His voice carried a cautious heartache. "Felix, please don't cry." I froze and reached up to wipe my face. All I felt was wetness. I was crying again. As I threw up, the text blinked rapidly. The female lead was so anxious she wanted to rush over, but your friend beat her to it. Seeing the brother collapse like this, she instantly regretted her harsh words. "Brother, don't be sad about the broken ceramics in the trash. She secretly made another pair. She only threw those out because she wanted to apologize to you." I had no mind to read what they were saying. I gripped my friend's arm tightly, using him for support to stand up. I forced myself to speak. "Harvey, let's go." He gritted his teeth, shot a glaring look at Willow, then gripped my arm and led me toward the door. Just as we reached the exit, I paused, turned to Willow, and said seriously, "Let's find time to get a divorce." Riding the elevator down slowly, I leaned weakly against Harvey. I suddenly remembered so many things, all the trivial matters from my time with Willow. For instance, I used to forget my keys often, and Willow disliked combination locks. Once, when I forgot my keys, I waited for her in the hallway until midnight. The first thing she asked when she got back was, "Will you ever dare to be so absent-minded again?" Or the time the downstairs neighbor called to say my apartment was leaking water. I hastily took time off and rushed home, only to find Willow sitting there. I asked why she didn't handle it. She said, "You've always taken care of these things. What does it have to do with me?" Or the time she went on a business trip. I bought a monster plant and sent her a picture. I sent 3 messages and she ignored all of them. By the 4th, I found out I was blocked. When she returned, she told me it distracted her from her studies and that I shouldn't send her such trivial things. Small things are just small things, but in an avalanche, no snowflake is innocent. The elevator reached the ground floor. Harvey asked carefully, "Felix, are you okay?" I snapped out of my memories, smiled, and shook my head. To no longer be bound by those trivial things. Maybe it's a good thing, right? Harvey drove me back to my rented apartment and left. I lay in bed, thinking my mind would be a mess tonight, but my head had barely hit the pillow before I fell fast asleep. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly. I went to work as usual, but as I approached the company entrance, I saw Willow standing there. The text before my eyes reactivated. "The female lead has been standing here since before dawn. She was afraid of missing the brother. She's finally starting to figure it out. After the brother left last night, she even threw a tantrum at the assistant and wanted to transfer him to another position. Over there, Willow saw me and strode over. As expected, she looked me up and down before frowning. "What are you wearing? Didn't I tell you this kind of clothes doesn't look good on you? Hurry up and go home to change." I glanced down at my shirt and clenched my fists. I didn't want to get tangled up with her, but I couldn't help retorting. "What I wear is my freedom. We're about to get a divorce. Do you understand?" Hearing my words, her frown deepened. She seemed to try to suppress it, but couldn't hide the helplessness in her eyes. I'd seen that look before on myself, in the mirror, the morning I decided to leave. Is the tech department not busy lately? I don't have time to throw tantrums with you. Those mosquitoes buzzed in front of my eyes again. Didn't the female lead intentionally come to apologize? What's with her attitude? Oh my god. She stayed up all night. Her head is full of the brother asking for a divorce. She's probably not thinking straight. They kept saying Willow was backing down, but looking through those semi-transparent words, all I saw was her cold face, and all I heard were the freezing words from her mouth. Fine, if you insist on being so stubborn, there's nothing I can do. I looked at Willow, seeing the certainty in her eyes clearly. She was certain I wouldn't leave. She was certain my talk of divorce was just an act. Suddenly, I lost all desire to continue the conversation. I simply nodded. I'll send over the divorce agreement shortly. After saying that, I walked straight into the company. Entering the admin office, Senior Claire walked up to me holding a document. Felix, emergency situation. They need someone over there urgently. The CEO personally approved your transfer request. I've booked your flight for 9 p.m. tomorrow. Can you make it? I was slightly taken aback, then nodded firmly. Yes, I can. Gripping that thin sheet of paper, my mood instantly brightened. I was incredibly busy all day. First handing over my work, then meeting up with Harvey. The three of us went to a small restaurant near our old university. Hearing that I was being transferred abroad, they were all shocked, but quickly followed up with congratulations. Harvey even slammed the table. Hell yes. Felix, not only are you getting a promotion, but you're getting away from that scumbag woman, killing two birds with one stone. Congratulations. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. After dinner, we all headed our separate ways. I strolled slowly down the street by myself. A deafening clap of thunder suddenly rang in my ears. Before I could find shelter, the rain poured down like a waterfall. By the time I got home, I was completely drenched. I hurried to take a hot shower and took 2 cold pills as a precaution. But by midnight, I was burning up with a fever. Dazed, I gritted my teeth, got up, and took a taxi to the hospital. I was flying out tomorrow. I didn't want to change my ticket and delay the trip. What if the big boss thought I wasn't proactive about the job? At 2 a.m., I finally made it outside the emergency room. As I hurriedly pushed the door open, I heard Willow's familiar voice asking the doctor, "Is my boyfriend going to be okay?" Instinctively, I looked further into the ER. Willow was standing by the doctor's desk, letting Carter lean half his body against her. She asked anxiously, "He just has a stomach ache. Why is it hurting this much? Doctor, please prescribe him some medicine quickly." I stared somewhat blankly at the woman before me. Just a stomach ache. I used to get those, too. But when I was in pain, Willow's only response was to tell me to drink more warm water. I numbly looked at the shaking text before my eyes. This time, I wouldn't offend the female lead. The brother has a fever and came to the hospital alone, while the female lead is taking care of the assistant. Didn't she just notice the male lead arrive and pretend to be anxious on purpose? She's just throwing a fit for the male lead to see. I didn't open the door all the way. Instead, I turned around and sat down on a waiting chair outside. The ER corridor was empty, not a soul in sight. It was so quiet that even the air felt stagnant. I don't know how much time passed before the ER door opened. 2 figures walked out and stopped right in front of me. I looked up, only to find Willow staring straight at me. Our eyes met. She immediately looked away, supported Carter, and walked right past me without a second glance. A nurse approached me, pressed a thermometer to my forehead, looked at it, and gasped, "You're burning up at 39.5 degrees Celsius. Are you all right?" I looked up and smiled at her. "I feel perfectly fine." In the heat of that 39 degrees fever, I burned away the last shreds of hope I had for that woman. I got an injection to bring down the fever, took my meds home, swallowed them, and obediently went to sleep. Perhaps because I commanded it so, my fever actually broke the next day. Checking the thermometer, I breathed a sigh of relief. Great, no need to change my flight. Only then did I see my phone. 17 missed calls from Willow. I suddenly remembered that back when I used to get genuinely angry, she would call me incessantly to apologize. It was just that after we got married, I chose to endure so many things, so she stopped calling like that. I smiled, moving my finger to add her number to the block list. The text danced wildly. "Don't do it, brother. The female lead parked downstairs last night and waited until your lights went out before leaving. It's silent protection, but it's too cruel that you don't even know about it." I ignored the text. I went straight to a print shop and printed a copy of the divorce agreement. Over the years, Willow and I didn't have much to divide. The house was hers, and my salary was my own. It was very convenient. Then, I packed my bags and contacted my landlord to return the apartment. It turns out that when a person truly wants to leave, it can be this simple. With everything done, I carried my suitcase downstairs again, preparing to find a courier to mail the divorce papers. Then I saw Willow waiting downstairs. She was leaning against her silver Bentley, looking haggard and pale. Seeing me walk out with a suitcase, She immediately tensed up and hurriedly asked, "Where are you going?" I brushed it off. "A company arranged a business trip for me." She seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, then casually offered, "Let me drive you to the airport. It's on my way, anyway." I looked at her for a few seconds and finally nodded. Once in the car, the text jumped erratically. "Isn't the female lead going to ask more questions? Brother is going on a business trip. This isn't something he'll be back from in 2 or 3 days. She clearly came looking for him because she saw he didn't go to work today. What's the point of acting tough?" The floating words were extremely agitated, but until she parked the car, Willow didn't say another word to me. At the airport, she even walked me all the way to the security checkpoint. As I pushed my suitcase forward, Willow suddenly called out, "Felix, when you get back, let's go visit your parents in your hometown together." I turned to look at her. Her expression was calm, as if no conflict had ever happened between us. Right, in the past, whenever we fought, it took a week at most for us to make up and return to normal. She probably thought this time was no exception, that once I returned from my business trip, all our past disputes would vanish into thin air. I looked at her quietly as the airport loudspeaker announced boarding. "Passengers traveling to Berlin, please note, flight DH9755 to Berlin will close check-in in 30 minutes. DH9755. That was exactly my flight. I snapped back to reality, thought for a moment, then reached into my bag, pulled out the divorce agreement, and handed it to Willow. Seeing her confused expression as she opened it, I smiled gently. "I've already signed it. You just need to sign it and mail it back to me." With that, I turned and walked toward the security check. "Goodbye, Willow. What is vanishing into thin air this time is our marriage." I passed through security and kept walking forward. Behind me, Willow's panicked voice suddenly rang out. "A divorce agreement. Felix, why are you giving this to me?" I turned my head. She had been stopped by airport security. Her slightly red eyes were filled with absolute disbelief. I curled my lips into a smile, stepped into the boarding tunnel, and left her cries far behind. Behind me. After nearly a 13-hour long-haul flight, I finally arrived in Berlin. Following a night's rest at the company-provided accommodation, I immediately threw myself into work. For 3 solid days, I practically lived at the office, working day and night without a single second to think about Willow. When I finally stepped out of the office doors, the sunlight stunned my eyes. It felt like a lifetime had passed. Once my eyes adjusted to the light, I saw Willow standing not too far away, her eyes red, staring intensely at me. "Felix." I looked at her, struggling to process her presence. I thought our next meeting would be after I returned to my home country. While I was still stunned, she strode up to me, her voice hoarse from the long journey. "Why didn't you tell me the company sent you to Germany, and you can't go back for 5 years? Are you starting to lie to me, now, too?" I couldn't help but frown. "Willow, didn't you see the divorce agreement I gave you?" Her eyes grew even redder. She suddenly grabbed my hand and said urgently, "I don't agree. If I don't agree, you can't divorce me." I rarely saw Willow act so shamelessly. Right now, I was somewhat at a loss for words. The floating text started dancing again. "Is this how the female lead pursues him? Kind of interesting. She flew thousands of miles just for this. She definitely didn't come here to get a divorce, but her attitude still sucks. The brother isn't enchanted by this trick anymore." Seeing that last sentence, the corner of my mouth twitched. Indeed, even if Willow didn't want to divorce me, her first words upon seeing me were still an accusation that I had lied to her. Failing to get a response from me, she pulled my arm, intending to drag me forward. "Go apply to cancel your transfer abroad. The tech department has so many people. Why do you have to play the tough guy?" I froze for a second, then forcefully shook off her hand. "Willow, I earned this opportunity myself, and you want me to cancel it just because you said so?" She looked at me, her eyes brimming with confusion. "What exactly are you thinking? The issues between us haven't even been resolved, and you run off alone to a place this far away to avoid me. What's the point?" She actually thought I was just hiding from her. A sharp pain pierced my heart, followed by a surge of helplessness. I suppressed the pain and tried my best to speak calmly. "Once you sign the divorce papers, everything will be resolved." She stared at me, blood vessels gradually surfacing in her eyes. Suddenly, she asked, "Felix, when we got married, you said there was no divorce, only death. I know how much you value marriage. Did you come up with this method just to torture me?" Faced with such a stubborn Willow, I was out of options. Just then, someone patted my shoulder. "Mr. Felix, can you give me a ride today?" I turned to see my colleague, Gavin, looking at me. Wanting to get out of there quickly, and knowing Willow wasn't very familiar with him, I agreed. Once inside the company car, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Willow was still standing there. She was too far away for me to see her expression clearly. I withdrew my gaze and asked Gavin, "Where do you live?" "We'll go there first. Just drop me off at the next intersection." I looked confused and he winked at me. "That was your ex just now, right?" I saw you didn't want to deal with her, so I hitched a ride to help you out. His sincere attitude made me feel a bit embarrassed, but I still thanked him. He waved it off. I hate people who won't let go. I didn't want to tell him too much about my history with Willow, so I dropped him off at the next intersection. I'll bring you coffee tomorrow. Thanks for the help today. Gavin didn't decline. He waved and walked away. I got back to my place, rubbed my throbbing temples, and went to the bathroom to run the water for a bath. Halfway through filling the tub, my phone rang. I glanced at it and answered. Mom, what's wrong? Felix, your father, and I came to the city to visit. Why is there a strange man in your and Willow's house? My heart clenched. Watching the water level steadily rise, I closed my eyes. Mom, there's something I haven't told you yet. I'm planning to divorce Willow. I've already signed the papers and I'm currently negotiating with her. The other end went silent for a long time before my mother spoke. Where are you? Your father and you don't need to look for me. I received a company transfer and am abroad right now. Once I finish my work, I'll tell you the whole truth. Ever since I graduated from university, my parents rarely interfered in my affairs and never forced me to do anything. This time was no different. I hung up, took off my clothes, and stepped into the tub. As the water covered my chest, I thought blankly, the man my mother saw was probably Carter. Willow was here telling me she didn't want a divorce. While back home, she was letting Carter into our house. A hint of sarcasm flashed in my eyes. I let myself sink a little deeper. New text appeared before my eyes. The male lead definitely misunderstood again. The female lead just asked the assistant to drop off some daily necessities. Who wouldn't misunderstand this? The brother wanting a divorce is all because of this assistant. Okay, the male lead's parents are probably disappointed in the female lead this time, too. I was thinking they could act as peacemakers. I closed my eyes, refusing to take in any more of this information. My parents weren't a conservative family. There was no rule saying I couldn't get a divorce. If they knew I had suffered grievances, they would only tell me to divorce Willow as fast as possible. I slept soundly that night. I woke up the next day to a light drizzle outside. When I walked out of the building with an umbrella, I saw Willow standing downstairs. Nights in Berlin were freezing. I didn't know how long she had been standing there, nor did I know what she wanted to do. But I felt I had made myself perfectly clear yesterday and had no desire to entangle myself further. Just as I was about to walk around her, I heard her call my name. Felix, I haven't signed the divorce agreement. She walked up to me, her tone serious. Either I apply for a transfer here or you come back with me. Even if I really did something wrong, you should at least give me a chance to fix it. My throat suddenly felt tight. I looked at her and slowly opened my mouth. Willow, did I never give you a chance? That time Carter showed up at the house, I gave you a chance to explain. Do you remember what you said? You just threw away those ceramic dolls. Did you ever consider my feelings? I've told you so many times. She interjected impatiently, he and I are strictly in a superior-subordinate relationship. I threw those old ceramics away, but I made new ones for you. As she spoke, she reached out to grab my hand. Felix, I instinctively took a step back, glaring at her coldly. Don't touch me. Willow had very strong boundaries, yet she allowed Carter free access to her home. Even now, it never occurred to her to explain that picture of them kissing to me. She probably didn't expect me to be so unyielding. Her face instantly darkened. I took another half step back. Right now, I only have one favor to ask of you. Stop interfering in my life. Willow's temper flared. She glared at me. Felix, I already came here to apologize. What more do you want? As long as I don't sign that agreement, when you return to the country, we'll still be legally married. I turned my head to look at her, my voice turning icy. Willow, look at yourself now. Dragging it out and refusing to divorce. How is your behavior any different from your mother holding on to your father? Having been married for years, I naturally knew how to inflict the most pain. At this moment, Willow's expression could no longer be described as merely dark. I knew exactly which nerve I just severed. I opened my car door and got in, feeling in a great mood. Arriving at the company, I saw Gavin waiting for me at the entrance. Felix, hey, did that person bother you again yesterday? Looking at his sincere, worried eyes, my heart warmed. I handed him the coffee I brought. Don't worry, I handled it. After I said that, the text flashed. It's over. The brother is actually using the word handled when talking about the female lead. It seems he's really given up on her. Poor female lead. She swallowed her pride, asked so many people to find out where the male lead lived, and got stabbed in the heart first thing in the morning. The female lead knows she's wrong now. Give her another chance, male lead. I ignored them and walked straight into the office. When I saw the person sitting not far from my desk, I couldn't help but freeze. The person looked up, beamed at me, and waved. Felix, are you surprised? Surprised? More like shocked. It was the CEO's only daughter. I had no idea why Bianca was here. Thinking this, I asked exactly that. Why aren't you staying put at home? What are you doing here? Bianca was generous and straightforward. I finished my master's degree. My dad wanted me to get some real-world experience. Since there were some issues over here, he figured if I handled it well, it would look great on my resume. She smiled brightly. My dad knew you were here, so he felt perfectly at ease sending me. Before I could reply, I heard Gavin muttering behind me. So, it's the young lady of the company. I don't know if Bianca heard him, but her expression didn't change much. I didn't overthink it and said directly, I remember you studied finance in college. Start by analyzing the data from the past 3 months. Bianca didn't have any of the bad habits of a spoiled heiress. She worked diligently all morning. Gavin, on the other hand, kept stealing glances at her. When it was time for lunch, Bianca stood in front of me unprompted. Felix, can I grab lunch with you? I rubbed the bridge of my nose. Let's go. Gavin immediately stood up. I'm coming, too. The three of us left the office and were discussing where to eat when we bumped into Willow holding a takeout bag. Her face was expressionless as she offered the bag to me. The food here doesn't suit your taste. I found a Chinese restaurant and ordered for you. She glanced at the other two, pursing her lips. I didn't know you were going out with them, so I didn't order extra. I didn't take it. Keep it for yourself. I'm eating with them. Willow frowned. Felix, do you really have to treat me like this? Before I could speak, Bianca chimed in. Isn't this Director Willow? I heard the project you're overseeing recently ran into some issues. At a critical time like this, instead of staying at headquarters, you ran all the way over here. Isn't that inappropriate? Willow recognized her. Her mouth tightened and she replied coolly, the project won't have any issues. What others say isn't necessarily true. She then looked at me. If you're going out to eat, I want to come, too. I suddenly felt incredibly annoyed with Willow. Then I'll spell it out for you. I don't want to eat with you. Understood? Willow stood there, stunned. Meanwhile, the floating text went wild. Male lead, don't treat the female lead like this. She just has a weird personality, but she never intended to betray you. I support whatever the brother does. After all, he really did suffer a lot of grievances. Looking at that last line, my heart felt a twinge of sourness. Yes, during the years I was with Willow, I suffered so much, but not anymore. I ignored the still stunned Willow and drove off with Bianca and the others. By the time we arrived at the restaurant, Bianca and Gavin were staring at me unblinking. Instinctively, I asked, what's wrong? Seeing me finally speak, Gavin acted like he had struck gold. Felix, you were so cool back there. That's exactly how you deal with a scumbag woman, firm and ruthless. He was tactful, not asking what had happened between me and Willow, merely praising my awesomeness. I smiled. All right, let's order. I didn't think there was anything awesome about it. If I were truly awesome, I wouldn't have let myself suffer for so long. I didn't notice that Bianca had remained completely silent, just quietly watching me from the side. By the time we finished eating and returned to the office, Willow was gone. I had always been completely obedient to her. This was the first time I showed her such a harsh attitude. If this was what it took to make her realize I truly wanted nothing more to do with her, I wouldn't mind doing it a few more times. For the following days, I didn't see Willow again. She had probably returned home. I felt a sense of relief. The text occasionally popped up. Brother works so hard. It's inspiring. Is the male lead trying to become a career powerhouse? Has he completely let go of the female lead? I just smiled off these discussions. I enjoyed the piece until I received a message from Carter. Team leader Felix, could you unblock Director Willow? I see her calling you every night. It's heartbreaking. I lowered my eyes at the message and immediately added his number to the block list as well. Whatever Carter wanted to do or whatever Willow was doing had nothing to do with me, but I didn't expect my peaceful days to be shattered by that message from Carter. Looking at Willow and Carter standing before me with their luggage, it was hard to feign happiness. Carter handed me a file. Team leader Felix, the company intends to build another production line in Germany. We're here to survey. I glanced at the document stamped with the company seal. Asking no further questions, I led them straight to an office. Director Willow, this office happens to have 2 desks, enough for you and your assistant to use. Willow clenched her fists, saying nothing about me putting him in the same office as her. Carter's expression instantly soured. I smiled. Sorry, there are no other offices available. Back home, you shared an office with Assistant Carter anyway. Surely you wouldn't want to change that now that you're here. My thinly veiled sarcasm made Willow lose face. She knew what I was implying. Suddenly, she looked at me. So, you were jealous of this before? She looked genuinely puzzled. If you were jealous, why didn't you tell me? Looking at her deeply furrowed brows, I suddenly felt disgusted. Director Willow, we are no longer husband and wife. Please watch your words. I don't want to bring up the past. I hope that from now on, we are strictly colleagues. Willow's eyes darkened. Before she could open her mouth, I turned and walked out of the office without hesitation. Since everyone had their own work, Willow and I had zero interaction that entire day. But by the time I got off work, the lights in her office were off. I rubbed my stiff neck, preparing to head home. As I walked downstairs, I heard muffled sobbing. Instinctively, I looked toward the sound. It was Carter and Willow. Carter looked miserable, while Willow stood there, her brows knitted tightly. I was about to leave when I heard Carter's small voice. "Willow, you're already carrying my child. We can't keep going on like this." I didn't stay to listen to the rest and quietly left. The floating text flashed crazily. "What? The female lead is having someone else's baby. What about the brother? Looks like it was right for the male lead not to forgive her. Otherwise, she would definitely cheat again. There must be a misunderstanding. The female lead would never betray the male lead." I started the car, not letting these words affect my mood, but recalling Willow's expression just now. She was clearly impatient, yet she hadn't refuted Carter's claim. Knowing her, Carter's words were 80 to 90% true. I gripped the steering wheel, finding it utterly ridiculous. The irony was almost too perfect to be real. She acted the part of a deeply devoted woman in front of me, yet she was pregnant with someone else's child. These thoughts flashed through my mind, leaving no trace. I pulled out my phone and called Harvey. He picked up quickly. "Felix, what's up?" I stared straight ahead. "I printed the divorce agreement a while ago, but Willow refuses to sign." Before I could finish, Harvey exploded. "What the hell does she mean? Does she even have the face to say she doesn't want a divorce?" I laughed casually. "I guess that's her intention. I want to know how I can finally end this marriage." Harvey asked directly, "Do you have proof of her infidelity?" I thought about it. "I have a picture of her kissing someone else." Harvey paused. "And anything else?" I felt a bit embarrassed. "Nothing else." "Does this prove she cheated?" It took a while for him to answer. "Send the picture to me first. Let me take a look. I'm driving right now. I'll send it when I get home." Back at my apartment, I forwarded the photo I had received earlier. A moment later, Harvey started a video call. "Felix, who sent you this picture?" I didn't know what he was getting at, so I answered honestly that it was Willow's assistant. Harvey frowned. "This photo was manipulated using software. They're actually just standing close to each other." I was stunned. The text before my eyes grew excited. "I told you, the female lead couldn't possibly betray the male lead. It's all that green tea assistant's doing." No wonder she was so angry. She was framed. Even if the photo is fake, the female lead is literally pregnant with the assistant's child right now. I quickly asked Harvey, "There's one more thing. Today after work, I heard Carter say Willow is pregnant with his child." Harvey's eyes widened. After a long silence, he spat out, "Willow, that rotten Felix, wait for my word. I'll find someone to dig up her medical records." Harvey was a lawyer with a wide network. This wouldn't be hard for him. After ending the call, I sighed. I couldn't help but wonder, if I had known the photo was fake back then, would things between Willow and me have reached this point? The answer was yes. I didn't want to endure her indifference anymore, nor could I stand living a life where I had lost myself entirely. Even without Carter, something else would have happened. Our incompatibility was fundamental. I was very satisfied with my current life. I had no desire to go back. Just as I brushed off my chaotic thoughts, I noticed a new message from an unknown number. "Felix, let's meet at the Brandenburg Gate tonight. You proposed to me there. Let me have one chance this time, okay?" I looked down and smiled. Brandenburg Gate. I had indeed proposed there. I moved my fingers, staring at the message reeking of reconciliation, and typed out a reply, "No need. Right now, you should be considering what to do with the child you and Carter share." Less than an hour after I sent that message, someone knocked loudly on my door. Looking through the peephole, it was indeed Willow. Her face showed a level of anxiety I had never seen before. There were even beads of sweat on her forehead, but I had no intention of opening her emotions had nothing to do with me anymore. I had nothing left to say to her. I muted my phone and tossed it onto the bed, letting it flash silently. I completely ignored Willow until she finally couldn't hold it in and called out my name. "Felix, open the door. Let's talk this out properly." I let out a laugh. With a woman about to become my ex-wife, I really couldn't think of anything we needed to discuss properly. Her knocking grew louder and more urgent. I frowned, picked up my phone, and called the building's property management. "Someone is harassing me at my door. I need security." The response was swift. "Right away, sir." In less than 3 minutes, Willow was escorted away. The hallway returned to silence. As for facing her at the office tomorrow, I figured she wouldn't make a scene in front of everyone. After all, her affair with Carter was a scandal. If it was exposed, it wouldn't do her any good either. That night, my chat group with Harvey and the others blew up. "Theo, Felix, what happened? Are you okay over there? Why is Willow acting like a leech?" "Nathan, I happen to have a location scouting trip coming up. Still deciding if I should join you in Germany." "Harvey, Felix, buddy, don't be sad. It's just a woman." In college, Harvey was already studying law, and Nathan was an artist. They both found their paths early and entered society sooner. In our dorm, Theo was the one who was always by my side. He understood best just how much I loved Willow, which was why he was the most afraid I wouldn't get over it. I smiled and replied, I'm fine. Just dealing with a terrible ex-wife. So Nathan, no need. I have my own work here. If you come, I'm afraid I won't have time to host you. Seeing my normal tone and the fact that I even sent a sticker, they finally relaxed. After chatting with them, I put down my phone and drifted off to sleep. Unexpectedly, I had a dream about my college days with Willow. It was back when I first truly fell for her. Even when I followed her to hand out flyers on the street in the sweltering summer heat, I felt happy. When we finished, drenched in sweat like we'd been pulled from a river, Willow took her 80 yuan of hard-earned part-time wages and dragged me to a bubble tea shop. She ordered the most expensive drink, 32 yuan. I tried to stop her, but she put on a cold face and said, Felix, I agreed to be with you not so you could suffer with me. When I woke up, recalling the image of us sharing that cup of bubble tea in the dream, I couldn't help but shake my head. Some people, some things, it's better to leave them in our memories. Because now, when I thought of Willow, there was nothing good left, only a dullness that I deeply disliked. When I got to the office, I went about my work as usual. Before long, a familiar figure stood before my desk. I looked up to meet Willow's intense gaze. I smiled and asked, Director Willow, is there something you need? Sensing the stares from around the office, she lowered her voice. Let's go outside and talk. I didn't move. Instead, I raised my voice. Director Willow, this isn't very appropriate, is it? We're discussing divorce right now. What's the meaning of you constantly coming to find me? The looks from the people around us shifted instantly. Willow's face darkened. Seeing her expression, I suddenly remembered when she helped Carter celebrate his birthday, treating the whole company to bubble tea. I admit, I was being a bit petty. I wanted revenge, but actually doing it didn't bring me any satisfaction. It just made me feel exhausted with myself. I withdrew my gaze and said calmly, if you don't want me to say anything else, then get lost. I assumed she would know when to quit. Surely a proud, favored child of heaven like her couldn't endure such humiliation. But to my surprise, her eyes suddenly turned red. She looked down, her voice hoarse. Felix, can you just listen to my explanation? I paused. The text flickered again. The female lead finally realizes the brother asking for a divorce isn't just a temper tantrum. She's panicking, but the damage is done. It's too hard for the male lead to forgive her now. Serves her right. She got kicked out of the complex last night and sat crying in her car until morning. She's finally thinking straight. I thought to myself, I needed to work now. I'd talk to her after work. The haggard look on Willow's face vanished instantly. She spoke in a rush, as if afraid I'd interrupt. I'll wait for you outside the office after work. I completely ignored the scrutinizing looks around me. But as I picked up some documents and stood up, I noticed Bianca's desk was empty. I asked Gavin, where did she go? Gavin looked up, confused. Huh, Bianca? She asked HR for leave today. I nodded. Bianca had always been impulsive. Staying at the company for a month had already exceeded my expectations. She probably couldn't take it anymore and ran off to blow off steam. After dropping the documents off at the finance department, I saw a missed call on my phone. It was from headquarters. I quickly called back and heard the voice of the CEO's assistant. Team leader Felix, the chairman told me to make this call. I've sent his personal phone number to your email. This is his private line. Please call him back when you're free. Holding the phone, I felt a bit bewildered. I had only seen the chairman a few times at annual banquets, where he once handed me an Outstanding Employee Award. Why would someone of his status personally call an employee of my rank? I couldn't figure it out, but I walked out to the hallway and dialed the number from the email. It rang 3 times before someone picked up. Feeling nervous, before I could even speak, the chairman's hearty laughter came through the line. Ha, Felix, right? I gripped my phone tighter. Chairman, is there something you need from me? There was a pause before he spoke again. I recall you and my useless daughter were college alumni. We recently had a disagreement. It's a long way over there, so I can't go myself. She's throwing a tantrum and refusing to go to work. Could you kindly help me talk some sense into her? Hearing this, I realized what it was about. On one hand, I marveled at how much the chairman doted on Bianca. On the other hand, I found the situation absurd. Bianca was almost 30 years old, having a spat with her family and asking me to mediate. What was this? But since it was my ultimate superior, I had no choice but to agree. Just as I finished the call and prepared to head back to my desk, the floating text made me freeze in my tracks. This chairman is something else. He called Bianca yesterday and was clearly laughing. Bianca is so lucky. She has money and a loving father, and he's even willing to help her pursue the male lead. Female lead. This is the first time I haven't seen them mention Willow in these comments. But the information they revealed was hard to believe. Bianca wanted to pursue me. This was pure fantasy, let alone the fact that I was 6 years older than her. We had very little in common. With her background and status, She could have any type of guy she wanted. Why would she like a divorced man like me? As for the chairman helping her pursue me, that was even more impossible. People of their class valued matched social standing and strategic marriages. Novels always wrote it that way. Many thoughts flashed through my mind, but I finally decided to throw these words to the back of my head and focus on work. Improving myself was the most important thing to do right now. With that thought, I turned and walked into the office. My colleagues were all smiling at me. Team leader Felix, your luck with the ladies is booming lately. Felix, come look. Gavin stood by my desk waving at me. My colleague stepped aside, allowing me to see. On my desk was a beautifully wrapped bouquet of sunflowers, vibrant and full of life. I frowned and looked toward Willow's office. Here, she was the only one who knew I liked sunflowers. But when I looked over, I saw her staring at the bouquet, her eyes looking as if they could shoot fire. Not her. I paused, then walked over. I found a card tucked inside the flowers. Written in elegant handwriting was a single line. Respecting the wait today, celebrating your freedom tomorrow. Sender Lisa. I remembered, if my memory serves me right, this was Bianca's English name. I pulled the card out and casually slipped it into my notebook. Gavin smiled cheekily. Gossiping. Felix, which beauty gave you these? I shot him a side glance. Don't ask too many questions. Get back to work. He stuck out his tongue and obediently returned to his seat. I moved the bouquet aside and sat down to review the spreadsheet submitted by my subordinates. But occasionally, when I turned my head and saw the sunflowers bathing in the sunlight, I found them quite beautiful. Time flew and soon it was the end of the workday. I was still finishing a video report to headquarters. By the time I ended the call, the office was almost empty. No, not entirely empty. I turned to see Willow standing at the door. Seeing I was done, she walked over. So this is the real reason you came to Germany, to avoid me while you get together with someone else. I was rendered speechless by this baseless accusation. I replied coldly, one bouquet of flowers proves I'm with someone else. What about you and Carter getting intimate in every possible way? Can I sue you for bigamy? Willow stared at me, disbelief flickering in her eyes. Since when did you become so aggressive? Her questioning tone irritated me. I stood up abruptly, losing all desire to converse. Willow, my leniency over the years has made you think I'm weak and easy to bully. You must have forgotten that in college, I was the captain of the debate team. As for who I'm dating or where these flowers came from, I don't need to explain anything to you. I'll remind you one last time, I want a divorce. Something must have triggered Willow because she instantly grew agitated. Why won't you explain? We aren't divorced yet. This is you cheating. As her righteous declaration fell, the floating text danced again. Does the female lead still not grasp the situation? The brother doesn't want her anymore. She's just anxious, so she's acting out. She just cares about the male lead too much. What's wrong with that? Has it still not occurred to her to properly apologize to the male lead? I'm so tired of this. I kind of want to support the brother embracing a new romance. We don't need this female lead anymore. I skimmed through the lines, looking at Willow's slightly red eyes. Suddenly, I remembered something from a long time ago. Right after college, Willow hadn't yet become the outstanding employee with an 8-figure salary. Her parents didn't want to deal with her, leaving her an old house and completely ignoring her life. My parents worried about me, using all their connections and resources to support her. Back then, Willow and I rarely saw each other. When we did, she was either busy with exams or talking about work. Thus, a few people started trying their luck, hovering around me. Some knew I had a girlfriend, some didn't. Right when they were pursuing me the most passionately, Willow appeared. She brought a bouquet of sunflowers bigger than the shrubs outside the school gate and waited for me. The moment she saw me, without saying a word, she kissed me directly. She said, Felix, wait for me. I will stand at a higher place than them and bring you happiness. Although I had never thought of betraying her, those words made me happy. After that, I waited and waited. I waited until she forced her way into management. I waited until she started not coming home at night. I waited until she met Carter and had a child with him. Thinking back on the past only made me want to laugh. And now, the woman standing in front of me, accusing me of cheating, was Willow. Even more ridiculous. I raised my chin and looked at her coldly. Then go sue me. It'll conveniently speed up our divorce process. After all, the house is yours and I don't want anything. Going our separate ways is exactly what I want. Willow's pupils dilated. Her chest heaved twice, seeming at a loss for words. Looking at her was like looking at my past self, just as helpless, just as utterly shocked, just as heartbroken. So the tables have turned. That saying can really come true. I smiled, pushed past her and walked away quickly. By the time I returned to my apartment building, Bianca was already waiting downstairs. She was driving a dark red Maserati sports car, smiling radiantly at me. Felix, do you like the gift I gave you today? I glanced at her and said mildly, how did you know I like sunflowers? Also, you took the whole day off just to give me flowers. Bianca's face fell slightly. She sighed, it's after work now. You're no longer my boss. Can we just interact as friends? I replied casually, even if I'm not your boss, I'm still your senior from college. An elder asking a few questions isn't out of line, is it? Bianca frowned imperceptibly. Senior is fine. Elder is a bit much. 6 years older doesn't make you an elder. I wanted to say more, but she raised her hand to stop me. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's a beautiful night. Are you interested in going for a drive with me? I looked at the bright stars in the sky and actually felt a bit tempted. The floating text shook again. Oh yeah, oh yeah. The vibes are immaculate. This girl really knows romance. This isn't good. The male lead isn't divorced yet, but he's already getting in someone else's car. Considering the female lead already had a child with someone else, I support the male lead. I thought about it for a second. Sure, let me go get my car. Bianca was stunned. You're not riding with me. I smiled apologetically. Sorry, I only feel safe when the steering wheel is in my own hands. In the end, Bianca and I drove 2 separate cars out of the apartment complex. Glancing in the rearview mirror, I saw her leisurely following behind. I subconsciously wondered how to reject her. After all, I had no interest in a girl 6 years younger than me. Furthermore, our upbringings were completely different. I had no desire to force a fit. Birds flying in 2 different directions would only feel awkward if one tried to adopt the other's habits. We cruised the streets until Bianca texted me. Felix, there's a bar street ahead. How does that sound? Looking at the brightly lit street ahead, I replied, sure. After parking, Bianca walked up from behind. Felix, how's your alcohol tolerance? The liquor in Berlin is pretty strong. I thought back. During my time in the tech department, I attended social events and could down an entire bottle of high-proof Mao. My tolerance shouldn't be too bad. I nodded at her. She picked a bar and after we sat down, she ordered a bunch of drinks and snacks on the digital menu. Felix, the garlic fried chicken here is pretty good. You'll definitely like it. Before I could answer, Willow's voice cut in. He hates garlic the most. Didn't you do your research before inviting someone out? I turned to see Willow standing right beside me, looking gloomy. I frowned. Why are you here? Willow ignored the irritation in my voice and sat down right next to me. I actually had some work matters to discuss with you. But when I went looking for you, I saw you leaving, so I just followed you. She spoke without an ounce of shame. Her sitting posture was exactly like when we were in love. She liked linking her arm through mine, a pose declaring ownership. Once, when we were out with her friends, one of them teased, "The guy is right here." Are you afraid Felix is going to run away? She had said, it's a habit. But now, I despise this habit of hers. I looked at her coolly. Please let go of my arm. Willow's expression shifted. She stared at me, unmoving. I met her gaze without hesitation, the resolve in my eyes clear. She slowly let go, placing her hands on her knees, gripping them tightly. I turned back to Bianca. Order a portion. Let me try it. Willow would probably never know that it wasn't that I disliked garlic. It was because she had once said she was allergic to it that I avoided it for so long. Now that I no longer needed to worry about her, I could naturally try everything. Bianca, who had been hesitating, casually added it to the order upon hearing my words. She threw a provocative smile at Willow, acting incredibly smug. I curled my lip into a smile. If Willow insisted on coming here to suffer, she couldn't blame me for not saving her face. Just then, Bianca added, Miss Willow, I'm only treating Mr. Felix tonight. You'll have to pay for yourself. Willow's grip tightened even more. Yet, for some unknown reason, she continued to sit there. I couldn't fathom what was going through her mind. The text swayed. The female lead is making sure no one gets close to the male lead. She's already humbled herself so much. Why won't he just forgive her? Well done, brother. Return all the grievances you suffered. When it was just him, she didn't care. Now it's too late for jealousy. The food and drinks arrived quickly. The waitress was Asian. In broken Chinese, she explained that the bar hosted games where couples could participate and win grand prizes. I was intrigued. What kind of games? Darts, spinning wheels, rock, paper, scissors. Bianca's eyes lit up. Felix, I know how to play all of those, especially darts. I'll win whatever prize you want later. Willow interjected coldly. Miss Bianca is quite well versed in these childish games. Bianca paused, then smiled confidently. Of course, when you're young, you should play more. It's much better than those antiques who only know how to play with people's feelings. Willow's eyes immediately turned dangerous. Her hands gripping her knees so hard her knuckles turned white. I wasn't naming names, Bianca said hastily. Why are you getting so angry? Bianca's feigned innocence made Willow feel like she had punched a cotton ball. Listening to their back and forth, I had no intention of speaking up. I just took a sip of my drink, leisurely enjoying the comfortable atmosphere. Since getting together with Willow, I rarely socialized. I was always home taking care of her, doing chores while waiting for her to return. It was a flavorless life. Now that I was free, of course I had to make up for all the fun I missed out on. I looked toward the front of the bar. Someone had already set up the dartboard and displayed an array of prizes. My eyes landed on a small red plushie. I vaguely recalled seeing the same plushie on Gavin's desk. He would probably like it. Bringing it to the office tomorrow would be a nice surprise for him. I looked at Bianca. Let's go play later. I want that red plushie. Bianca enthusiastically agreed, turning to locate the plushie I mentioned. Willow couldn't hold back anymore. Since when do you like these weird things? Felix, don't do this just to spite me. I didn't answer, but the text before my eyes couldn't resist. This isn't to spite you. He actually wants it. Can't you think from the male lead's perspective for once? She looks so ridiculous right now. Poor female lead. Does she still think the male lead is hung up on her? Remember this phrase, caring means liking. The male lead's indifference shows. He doesn't like the female lead anymore. Reading that last sentence, I suddenly felt a pang of curiosity. These floating lines kept flashing before my eyes. Why could I see them? Furthermore, their thought processes felt like real people. If they were people, what was their connection to me? For a moment, I fell deep into thought, automatically filtering out Willow's gloomy stare. The dart game soon began. The energetic host shouted, "Who will be our first brave warrior?" Bianca stood up without hesitation. Me. Let's go, Felix. I looked at Willow beside me. Please move out of the way. At the same time, the host on stage smiled and said, "Miss, your boyfriend is quite handsome." Willow suddenly stood up, cutting in. He's with me. I'll play with him. Before Bianca could react, Willow was already walking toward the dartboard. She looked back at me. Felix, give me a chance. If I can't win what you want, I won't bother you anymore. I was slightly surprised. In the years I was with her, she rarely engaged in entertainment, let alone childish games like darts. Where did her confidence come from? But her promise to stop bothering me was exactly what I needed. I thought for a moment and looked at Bianca. We'll go next. I was very interested in the condition Willow offered. Willow's hope was a strange thing, almost as strange as my own curiosity about what she thought she could do. Hearing this, Bianca smiled happily. I'll wait for her to lose. Her competitive nature was somewhat amusing. I stood up and walked over to Willow, blindfolding her. The boss handed her 3 darts and explained the rules. The board would move later. I could use any method to indicate the direction. If all 3 darts hit the board, we could choose a prize. Hitting the bullseye 3 times won the grand prize of €5,000. I nodded to show I understood. At that moment, the blindfolded Willow whispered, "Felix, for you, I won't lose." I was momentarily dazed, recalling a similar moment from the past, where she had spoken equally touching words of affection. But things change. Hearing those words now, I felt absolutely nothing. Once the board was set, I randomly said, "Southeast." Willow gripped the dart tightly. A single direction was very vague. She probably didn't know how to orient herself, and she finally realized why I had agreed to play with her. I wanted her to lose. She squeezed the dart so hard that her fingertip accidentally grazed the sharp point, drawing a drop of blood. She let out a bitter laugh. "Do you really want to ignore me this much? Do you really want me out of your world this badly?" "But Felix, I won't lose." Hearing her say this, a strange feeling welled up inside me. The next second, she raised her hand and threw the dart. It flew straight toward the board. I immediately frowned. The text flashed again. As expected of the female lead, she's got skills. She's risking it all for the male lead. Amazing. She secured a third of the chance. She'll definitely get the next 2. Male lead, stop torturing her. Give her a chance. The board moved again. I stayed silent for a moment, then said flatly, "West." This was even more vague. Willow pressed her red lips tightly together. But quickly, the dart left her hand and hit the target. It wasn't just me. Even the patrons drinking below started swearing, suspecting cheating. The boss rushed forward. "Sir, we need to inspect this lady's blindfold." I took a step back. Of course, even I suspected she was cheating. It was perfectly normal for others to feel the same. The boss personally swapped Willow's blindfold. Perhaps his reputation in the area was solid, because the crowd stopped booing. Everyone focused on Willow, waiting for my final direction. I glanced at the board position straight ahead and gave the exact opposite direction, southwest. Willow paused, then turned to face me. I breathed a sigh of relief. The dart flew from her hand, shooting toward empty space. But to my utter disbelief, the dart hit the wall and bounced back onto the board next to it. The bar fell silent for a split second before erupting into deafening cheers. They no longer suspected her of cheating. Instead, they believed this was the mystical power of the East. Only Bianca shouted loudly, "What kind of witchcraft is this?" The cheers proved everything. Willow pulled off the black blindfold, her eyes seemingly shining. "Felix, even the heavens want us to be together." The cheering in the bar numbed my heart. I vaguely heard someone say, "What a romantic love story." In that moment, looking at Willow, I felt a wave of dizziness. At the same time, the floating text danced. "So this is the female lead, good at everything even without trying. Oh, please, it's not like she's never played. She took the assistant out to play plenty of times, while the brother waited at home." Stop romanticizing the female lead's halo. My brother is the true main character of this story. "Felix," a violent shake jolted me out of my daze. I saw Bianca gripping my arm tightly, her face full of worry. Instinctively, I asked, "What's wrong?" "You just stood there frozen. I called your name and you didn't react," she said anxiously. "Are you okay?" I was about to answer when Willow cut me off. She swatted Bianca's hand away, her tone icy. "Bianca, he is mine. Mind your behavior." Her voice was filled with certainty and dominance, as if she finally had something to rely on. Was it because of that prize? I frowned, ignoring her words, and looked at Bianca. "I'm done playing with her. I want that red plushie. Help me win it." Bianca rolled up her sleeves. "Of course I can." Willow's face instantly turned ugly. She looked at me like I was a heartless scoundrel, but I didn't look back. The text had just told me her impressive dart skills were honed while playing with Carter. How could I possibly want to gift one by someone like that? Amidst the boss's laughter, I randomly picked the prize Willow had won, then started a new round with Bianca. Willow stood by the stage with a dark face, watching me. Time after time, I gave Bianca precise directions, far more accurate than what I had given Willow. The others looking at us seemed to think it was perfectly normal. Perhaps the culture here was more open. Two women fighting over one man was nothing strange, and they actually enjoyed the show. After Bianca and I finished the game, securing the red plushie as requested, I smiled and nodded in thanks to her. Bianca looked at Willow like a victorious general, holding her head high as she walked down the stage. "Miss Willow, sometimes having good skills is useless. What matters is whether the person wants to give you a chance. Since he doesn't want to give you one." Willow clenched her fists, her voice cold enough to freeze someone. "Bianca, if only your professional skills were as sharp as your tongue." Bianca shrugged dramatically. "I don't care. I have money. I can just hire professionals like you to work for me." That cutting remark instantly drained the color from Willow's face. She couldn't help but look at me. I met her gaze indifferently. "That's enough for tonight. I want to go home." Willow quickly offered, "I'll drive you." "No need. I have my own car." Perhaps the repeated rejections had stripped her of her pride. She gritted her teeth and said, "Felix, you just promised me." I raised an eyebrow. "What did I promise you?" "You were the one who said if you lost, you wouldn't bother me anymore." "I never said if you won, I would accept you. So whether you bother me or not doesn't change the fact that I'm rejecting you. Am I wrong?" Having said that, I walked straight toward the bar exit without hesitation. "Have a good night." When I arrived at the company the next day, it was still early. I placed the red plushie on Gavin's desk and snapped a picture to send him. As expected, I received a 60-second voice note in return, full of excitement and thrill. The ear-piercing scream was a bit much, so I stopped listening. When I got to my desk, I saw a portion of steamed buns and soy milk waiting for me. Smelling it, they seemed to be pork and scallion buns. I swallowed hard. The text started flashing. "Definitely from the female lead. This is the male lead's favorite breakfast." Yeah, they used to visit so many stalls together in college just for this. Correction, she didn't buy it. She made it herself. Eating a hometown breakfast in a foreign land. The female lead really put thought into this. I stared at the piping hot buns for a couple of seconds before pushing them aside. Just as I was about to pull out my homemade sandwich, Willow walked up to me. She frowned. "Eating that in the morning has no nutritional value. It'll be bad if your stomach issues flare up later." I had noticed the door to her office was ajar earlier, so I wasn't surprised to see her. I simply lowered my eyes. There's no need to waste your time making breakfast for me in the future. I don't like it. Willow fell silent for a moment. Then what do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. I set the sandwich down and said flatly, no need. I don't like eating anything made by director Willow. Do you understand? Willow seemed somewhat stricken, but she continued. I know you're still angry, but I will prove with my actions that I truly know I was wrong. As for the child, I will figure out what to do with it. In that instant, I lost my appetite for the sandwich completely. So, Willow was admitting the child in her womb was Carter's. Behind my back, they had done things far more intimate than that photo they sent me. Just thinking about it made me feel like something was crawling up my throat. Extreme disgust. Once the feeling passed, I looked at Willow. Her familiar, intimate expression now seemed so foreign. Before I could speak, Bianca's voice rang out. Felix, come over here. I brought breakfast for you and Gavin. It was a Chinese-style breakfast and a few other items. The colleagues who arrived after her teased, just for the two handsome guys. Nothing for us, Bianca giggled. I'm on the same team as them. When I transfer to your team, I'll flatter you guys, too. Her bright smile was contagious, making it hard not to smile back. Bianca walked over, squeezing past Willow, and set the food on my desk. Meat sandwiches and hot milk. One portion for each of you. I looked at her, then at Willow, who was staring intensely at me, and finally accepted it. I thought to myself, when I had time, I should make things clear with Bianca. Being friends was best. If not, I should at least advise her not to waste her effort on me. I took Bianca's breakfast and smiled in thanks. Willow watched from the side, anger rushing to her head, but she managed to suppress it in the blink of an eye. The text swung back and forth. Poor female lead, completely crushed by her rival. She deserves it. Who told her to be unfaithful and betray my brother? What a shame. She could have lived happily ever after with the male lead. I watched Willow's dejected back as she walked away, feeling absolutely nothing. I thought for a moment and opened WeChat to message my superior back home. How long is the survey period for Willow and Carter? He replied shortly after. They were sent by the tech department, so I can't say for sure. It all depends on the results of their investigation. Temporarily, the tech department asked me to allocate a month's worth of funds for them. 1 month. I did the math. Willow had been here for less than a week. There was still a long way to go. I sighed silently and buried myself in work. Just as lunchtime approached, Willow seemingly received a phone call and rushed out. I cast a brief glance and looked away. But soon, Carter sent me a message. Team leader Felix, do you have time for lunch today? I have something to tell you. I couldn't help but look toward Willow's office. Carter was looking at me with a hopeful expression. His gaze was very complex. I didn't know why, but I suddenly felt a bit sorry for him. I replied, sure. When break time arrived, I told Gavin, I have something to do this noon. You go eat with Bianca. Hearing this, Gavin could only mutter a disappointed okay and went to find Bianca. Bianca gave me a surprised look first, then left with Gavin. Carter and I found a relatively quiet restaurant and sat down. After ordering, Carter seemed nervous. He clasped his hands together and waited a long time before speaking his first sentence. Team leader Felix, I'm sorry. I'm going to make her get rid of the baby. I looked at him. His youthful face bore a weariness that didn't belong there. I don't know if it was because I no longer loved Willow, but I felt his features didn't look as harsh as they once did. I thought for a moment, if you want to keep the baby, that's fine, too. I'm going to divorce Willow anyway. You can raise the child. I wasn't being sarcastic. Since he had already intruded into my marriage, he might as well achieve his goal. That way, Willow wouldn't have any reason to bother me. Wouldn't that be better? Hearing my thoughts, Carter let out a bitter laugh. Team leader Felix, I'm afraid you won't be able to divorce her. I frowned. What do you mean? Lately, she's been consulting lawyers constantly. She refuses to agree to the divorce. It's not as simple as you wanting it. The famous lawyers she found all gave the same answer. She doesn't have to divorce. That divorce agreement you gave her means nothing. Furthermore, even if the baby is proven to be mine, if you file a lawsuit, you most likely won't win. My brow furrowed deeply. I didn't know why Carter was telling me all this, but what unsettled me more was his statement that I couldn't get a divorce. Was I supposed to be entangled with Willow for the rest of my life? I couldn't help but shudder. Carter looked at me. I'm sorry, team leader Felix. Originally, I thought your marriage was loveless. Honestly, I couldn't see that director Willow liked you. But these past few days, I've finally seen the truth. To her, I'm just a tool. Someone who's fine to have around, but doesn't matter if he's gone. A tool specifically used to provoke your attention. Carter laughed bitterly. I know I'm despicable for interfering in your marriage. Director Willow was the most suitable and powerful person I could get close to. I thought you two didn't love each other, so I wanted to try to forge a future for myself. But now, I've lost miserably. I am truly sorry to you. Looking at his pained expression, I suddenly remembered when he first joined the company. Full of youth, fighting spirit, and burning passion. Always hovering around the tech staff, eager to learn. When did Carter change? Was it the first time he attended a high society gathering with Willow? Or the first time he received an expensive gift from her? I didn't know. I just said flatly, you couldn't have one. When you pin your future on someone else, you are destined to fail miserably. I felt zero sympathy for everything he was experiencing now. It was entirely his own doing. But I also thank you for showing me Willow's true colors. Without you, I wouldn't have escaped her grasp so quickly. As for what happens to you next, decide for yourself. I called the waiter over to pay the bill and stood up to leave. Carter didn't try to stop me. He sat there, his head bowed, his short hair hiding his eyes, making it impossible to read his emotions. Right before getting into my car, I saw him cover his face with both hands, his shoulders trembling slightly. I didn't know why my mood suddenly felt so heavy. Returning to the company, I parked my car just as Willow stepped out of hers, carrying a thermos. Our eyes met. She froze first, then a smile bloomed on her face. She walked over to me, swallowing visibly before speaking. Felix, this is the poria chicken soup you like the most. I simmered it for a long time. Looking at the thermos she presented, Carter's bitter smile flashed in my mind. I didn't know where the anger came from, but I violently shoved her soup away. I don't want it. Willow, you clearly did wrong. How can you stand here like nothing happened? You want to beg for my forgiveness? Have you ever thought about Carter? My outburst left Willow stunned, and the smile vanished from her face. Felix, I was wrong before, but aren't I making up for it now? Don't keep bringing up Carter. Whatever happens to him has nothing to do with us. From now on, it will only be us. Looking at her face, feigning deep affection, yet holding a hint of impatience, my heart turned to ice. The floating text flashed again. The female lead hasn't realized her mistake at all. She thinks as long as she comes back, the male lead will forgive her. It's fine when she cheats, but the brother accepts one bouquet of flowers, and she throws a fit. What is going on? Am I the only one who thinks Carter is pathetic? He got nothing and got hurt emotionally. That last line hit me hard. Whether it was me or Carter, the pain we suffered was brought entirely by Willow. If she cared enough about me, there wouldn't have been cheating or cold wars. If she truly liked Carter, she should have taken responsibility for him. But now, not only did she not sincerely apologize to me, she also looked down on Carter. She had no right to look so innocent. On what grounds did she feel entitled to bounce between two men with a clear conscience? I had given her enough face. Seeing I wasn't speaking, Willow shoved the thermos into my hands. Be good. Drink it. The next moment, I gripped the thermos tightly and hurled it far away. Clang! The metal container hit the ground with a sharp crack. The chicken soup spilled everywhere. I glared coldly at the pale-faced Willow. I'll transfer you the money for both the soup and the thermos. Stop disgusting me. Her icy face flickered with anger. Oh, so she was angry. She clenched her fists, her voice tinged with uncontrollable rage. Felix, are you humiliating me? I stared her down. Aren't you humiliating me? Why else would you entangle yourself with me over and over again, thinking I would forgive your betrayal? Seeing I was about to leave, she quickly blocked my path, a trace of softness finally appearing in her eyes. Felix, I admit I was wrong. Please believe me, I can't live without you. I promise nothing like this will ever happen again. The text danced. The female lead is finally expressing her true feelings. Too bad it's after the male lead has stopped loving her. I had waited for this phrase for so long, but now that Willow had actually said it, I felt no joy whatsoever. The male lead doesn't need the female lead anymore. I ignored her and walked right past her back to the office. The anger in my chest still hadn't dissipated when I came face to face with Bianca's smiling visage. Felix, I brought you rice balls. Try them, they're delicious. I glanced at her and said mildly, I happen to have skipped lunch. Let me know how much it costs. I'll transfer it to you. Bianca beamed. Given our relationship, why bring money into it? I didn't reply, just looked at her quietly. Bianca perhaps sensed my mood wasn't right. The smile on her face faded a bit, but she retained her stubbornness. Felix, it really didn't cost much. I nodded, sat down, and pushed the rice ball aside. Bianca wanted to say something, but I had already focused my attention on my computer. She had no choice but to return to her desk, disappointed. By the time work ended, the rice ball was stone cold. I hadn't touched a single bite. Not having eaten all day, I felt a bit lightheaded. Getting into my car, I hurriedly popped a piece of candy into my mouth to ease the dizziness. I suddenly remembered how, in the past, no matter how busy Willow was, she always made sure I had 3 meals a day. I shook my head, cursing myself. I was so hungry. I was actually reminiscing about that scumbag woman. Now, the Willow in my heart had lost all her former halo. All that remained was regret for loving the wrong person and disgust for entrusting myself to the wrong person. Right as I started the engine, a text from Carter came through. Team leader Felix, I've resigned. Thank you for caring about me. If you ever need my help in the future, just call and I'll be there. Looking at the message, I didn't reply. I just put my phone aside, but the heavy stone in my heart seemed to lighten considerably. I gripped the steering wheel, letting out a deep breath, laughing self-deprecatingly. I was still too soft-hearted. I drove back to my apartment. After cooking a meal and lying down on the sofa, it was nearly 8 p.m. Harvey called right on cue. Felix, we found out. The child in Willow's womb is definitely Carter's. Hearing his continuous stream of curses, I couldn't help but laugh. I already knew. But Carter was preparing to make her get an abortion. Harvey was stunned. Is he crazy? Didn't he want to use the baby to tie Willow down? I recounted the events of the past few days. Harvey fell silent. Feeling a bit anxious, I asked. Carter said as long as Willow doesn't I can't get a divorce. Is that true? Harvey scoffed. She wouldn't dare not divorce. I have plenty of ways to deal with her. Just the infidelity during the marriage is enough to make her lose her job. I have friends who infiltrated the company's internal forums. When the time comes, we'll post about it. See if she doesn't panic. Alright, wait for me. I'm coming to Germany to help you finalize this divorce right away. Before I could say anything, Harvey hung up. I thought seriously. Ever since I handed Willow the divorce agreement, there had been no response. If she kept dragging her feet, it would genuinely affect me. I submitted a leave request to my superior on the app. With Harvey's hot temper, I'd probably need to pick him up tomorrow. After applying for leave, I told Harvey to send me his flight info, then went back to sleep. Waking up the next day, I saw Harvey's message. Landing at 2300 hours. I had to video call my parents. They picked up quickly. The first thing my mom said was, "Why are you so skinny?" My residual irritability vanished without a trace at her words. I'm not skinny. I even gained a little weight. My mom laughed, clearly not believing me. When you come back, I'll definitely fatten you up. I stared at the screen and finally spoke the words I needed to say. Mom, my friend is coming over today to help me divorce Willow. My mom immediately looked displeased. My dad, who was standing in the background, also looked serious. My heart sank. Instinctively, I asked, do you guys not want me to divorce her? My mom quickly clarified, no, it's just you're so far away right now. Your dad and I can't help you with the divorce. My nose stung. It's my fault. I'm this old and still making you guys worry. I took a deep breath. Once I handle the divorce, I'll use my vacation time to come home. My mom nodded repeatedly. My dad finally spoke up. Felix, if you suffer any grievances over you must tell us. If Willow dares to wrong you, I'll march over to her family and settle the score. My family and Willow's family didn't live far apart. Just about an hour-and-a-half drive. From dating to marriage, both sets of parents interacted frequently, but mostly it was my parents visiting her family. Thinking about it now, if it weren't for me, they wouldn't have had to travel back and forth like that. In the past, Willow always used the excuse of disliking visiting relatives to avoid going to my house. Sometimes I'd indulge her, sometimes I'd go back alone. Later on, every year during the holidays, my parents would personally travel to her house just to see me. Thinking about the past, my eyes couldn't help but redden. My mom hurriedly asked, "Why are you crying?" I quickly held back my tears and said softly, "I was just thinking that finally I'll be able to celebrate a complete new year with you guys." My mom and dad exchanged a look and smiled. Yes, our son is finally coming home. Ending the video call, I felt much lighter. Honestly, divorcing Willow brought only benefits, no harm. I leaned back on the sofa, looking out the window. The text flashed a few more lines. Guess the show's over. The male lead is completely cutting ties with the female lead. But didn't it say before that the male lead was destined to be with the female? That's right. If this happens, the plot is ruined if the male lead doesn't want the female lead anymore. What's left to watch? I absent-mindedly spoke aloud. If my life is a play, then who is the one directing it? The floating words suddenly froze. As I was wondering what was going on, the next second, the text went chaotic. No way. The brother can hear us talking. Is this a glitch? Admin, get out here. Male lead, he seems to be able to hear us. Brother, look at me. Look at me. I've always supported you divorcing the female lead. Amidst the endless flashing text, I vaguely understood. It turned out these words came from people in a parallel dimension, people just like me. It was just that in their perception, me, Willow, and everyone around me were characters in a novel destined to follow a predetermined plot to a set ending. So this was the script they'd written for me. For example, I was supposed to chase Willow, forgive her after a period of intense groveling, and then live happily ever after with her. I couldn't help but frown deeply. Me forgiving Willow? That was an utterly ridiculous notion. Just as I was about to say something else, the text before my eyes suddenly turned into a jumbled mess of code, then vanished. A line resembling a system error notification appeared. Admin notification, system error during runtime, currently undergoing repairs. Warning to viewers, this world is not the novel you think it is, but a world just like yours. Every person in the story is a flesh and blood existence. Felix is merely the male lead from your perspective. However, whatever he thinks or does, you have no right to manipulate it. Only he can control his own life. Compensation for Felix due to managerial oversight causing a cross-world connection is currently being prepared. Along with a series of ellipses, the notification slowly faded from my sight. I couldn't see any more text. Hello, is anyone there? I asked tentatively. I stared at the spot where the text usually appeared. It was empty. The words that had always been with me were gone. My heart suddenly felt a bit empty. I recalled the things they had said. Although most spoke on Willow's behalf, there were always a few who considered my feelings. I felt a slight sense of reluctance to let them go. I sat blankly on the sofa for a long time before recovering. If they're gone, they're gone. They appeared inexplicably, and they left as fast as a storm. But that last paragraph was exactly what I wanted. No matter what I thought or did, they had no right to manipulate it. Only I could control my own life. With that thought, the gloominess in my heart completely vanished. I tidied up the room a bit, and at 9:30 p.m., I drove to the airport. The roads were wide, the street lights bright. Feeling the night breeze blowing in from the window, I felt in a wonderful mood. While waiting for Harvey at the airport, I suddenly remembered something that Admin had mentioned, giving me a reward. While lost in thought, Harvey's voice came from behind. Felix. I turned to see him walking toward me with his luggage. He spoke excitedly. Do you know what happened to Willow's family during the time I came to find you? Honestly, hearing about people and things related to Willow annoyed me now. I felt a bit displeased, but Harvey continued. Willow's mom somehow found out she was pregnant. She went completely crazy. She called Willow, demanding that she keep the baby no matter what. I heard she pulled the classic cry, scream, threatened to hang herself routine. I don't know what Willow said to finally calm her down. I smiled. With the domineering personality of my ex-mother-in-law, what else could Willow say? She definitely had to make a promise to make her back off. As for Carter, if he wanted to rely on the child, he naturally would keep it. But none of this was my business. I took the luggage from Harvey. Let's go. Let's head back. While we were still on the road, I received a phone call from Willow. Felix, let's find time tomorrow to talk properly. I raised an eyebrow. Was this the so-called reward? A reward like this? I really liked it. After a 20-plus hour flight, Harvey fell dead asleep right after taking a shower. Before passing out, he struggled to tell me, wake me up tomorrow morning. I need to help you deal with Willow. Looking at his groggy face, my heart warmed. I nodded in agreement. A peaceful night. The next day, I woke Harvey up, and we went to the company together. There was a lounge area in the office, so I informed HR and let him rest there. When I entered the workspace, I immediately heard Willow taking a phone call in the hall. If it wasn't you, who else would proactively tell my mother about the pregnancy? Carter, you make me sick. You clearly got me drunk that night. She stopped mid-sentence upon seeing me. Willow hastily hung up and walked toward me. I said flatly, it's work hours right now. Whatever you have to say, save it for lunch. Seeing my unwillingness to engage, she swallowed whatever she was going to say. But I figured Willow's domineering mother must have made her very uncomfortable. The dark circles under her eyes were proof enough. Returning to my desk, I saw a bouquet of sunflowers, 3 blooms entwined together, radiating a vibrant life force. I glanced over at Bianca's desk. She met my gaze and offered a generous smile. Felix, do you like them? I looked at her for 2 seconds and nodded. They are quite beautiful. If they were given by someone I liked, they would be even more beautiful. That single sentence wiped the smile off Bianca's face. Even though she was 6 years younger than me, the rice ball incident and now the sunflower should have been clear enough for her to understand my meaning. I wasn't interested in her. A pampered heiress like her, even if she had feelings for me, they were limited. I never believed in love at first sight, nor did I have the energy to accept someone new right after a relationship ended. Bianca stared at me for a long time. I noticed her eyes redden slightly before she spoke. I understand, Felix. After saying that, she turned her head and stared blankly at her monitor. I couldn't see any other expressions, but when I opened my computer, I received a message from her. I'm sorry. I hope my feelings weren't just wishful thinking that caused you trouble. I thought for a moment and decided not to reply. Some things only need to be pointed out. There's no need to spell them out completely. Time slowly ticked toward noon. Willow was already waiting in the hallway. Let's go. I didn't move, just texted Harvey, then said, I'm waiting for someone. Willow frowned but didn't say anything until she saw Harvey. Her expression changed. Felix, this is between us. Why did you call in here? I replied calmly, he is the lawyer handling my divorce. Willow was momentarily speechless. She laughed bitterly. So from start to finish, you never gave up on divorcing me. I corrected her. Ever since I left that divorce agreement for you, it was over between us. You're the one who wouldn't let go. My merciless words made her face look terrible. She turned and walked away. Soon, we were seated in a quiet private room at a Chinese restaurant. She watched Harvey professionally take out the documents and couldn't help but speak up. No need for that. I agree to the divorce. I'll keep the house to compensate for our marital assets. I can give a little more. She looked at me, taking a deep breath. Whether you believe it or not, the child I have with Carter was an accident. He took advantage of me and got me drunk. When I was completely unconscious, that absurd thing happened. I stared at her for a few seconds and said flatly, Willow, you were drunk, not unconscious. Seeing she was about to speak again, I pushed the divorce agreement Harvey had drafted right in front of her. Sign it. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Willow remained silent for a long time before picking up the pen and signing her name. After she finished, I also took the pen and signed my name at the bottom of the document. As I completed the final stroke, I heard her hoarse voice. Maybe this is the last time our names will ever be together. I stared at the document and simply said, stop acting. Then I stood up and walked briskly out of the restaurant with Harvey. As for sharing a farewell meal with Willow, I truly couldn't stomach it. I thought this would be a drawn-out war. I never expected it to end so smoothly. I held the divorce agreement tightly. Willow had depended on her mother since childhood. She couldn't disregard her mother's opinions. My ex-mother-in-law never liked me, but this time, I truly thanked her for helping me out. After signing the papers, Willow quickly returned to our home country. The next day at the office, her workspace was empty. Calculating the dates, the 1-month period was almost up. I didn't overthink it, just focused on my work with peace of mind. 3 months flew by. In that time, Bianca seemed to have let go of her feelings for me and started treating me normally. Gavin found himself a blonde, blue-eyed foreign girlfriend, and was blissfully happy every day. I also received my divorce certificate mailed from back home. Furthermore, due to my outstanding performance, I was officially appointed general manager of the branch. My salary quadrupled compared to my days as a technician. I was extremely satisfied with my current life. One day, a PowerPoint presentation suddenly appeared in the branch's main group chat. The title was about senior executives having affairs and acting like modern-day scumbags. Curious, I clicked on it. Upon seeing the first chat log, I realized the people involved were Willow and Carter. I didn't know how, but the two of them were completely exposed. The sensitive chat logs were there, but my name had been replaced by a pseudonym. Even the instance where Willow told me she was going to a social event, but was actually with Carter, was recorded. The profile pictures were blurred. Although no one knew it was me, people at the branch knew Willow and I were once married. Their glances made me slightly uncomfortable. Gavin suddenly got angry and scolded them. What are you all looking at our manager for? Condemning scumbags is everyone's responsibility. Only then did their eyes leave me. I looked at Gavin gratefully, though my heart remained undisturbed. A PPT like this wouldn't just circulate locally. I searched online, and sure enough, it was everywhere. The company swiftly took countermeasures, issuing an official notice firing Willow, declaring zero tolerance for employees unfaithful to their partners and possessing poor character. The notice surprised me a little. After all, tech roles like Willow's were in high demand. I couldn't help but message Bianca to ask what exactly was going on. She replied quickly, explaining it to me. Remember when Willow came here to serve? The final proposal she submitted was approved, but it resulted in massive losses. The board already had issues with it. Plus, this PPT was made by Carter. He said Willow made his life a living hell, so he decided to fight to the bitter end. Combining these two things, the company decided to fire the ticking time bomb. Willow, I muttered to myself. It had been 3 months. What exactly did Willow do to make Carter hate? But these thoughts merely flashed through my mind. I didn't dwell on them. In the blink of an eye, 2 years passed. The branch had finally stabilized completely, and I was granted leave to return home. Eager to pack my bags, I flew back. My parents were waiting for me at the airport. Our family happily headed home. However, when we stopped at the final rest area to take a break, I saw Willow again. Carter stood beside her, glaring at her coldly. Stop making that miserable face. The kids are completely ruined by you. Willow, holding a child, replied evenly. Carter, stop. I don't want to argue with you anymore. Carter sneered, You wanted to give your son a happy childhood, but do you think you deserve it? Didn't you agree to marry me because of this child? Because your mom pushed you too hard. Willow, I've realized you are utterly useless. I didn't know what changed Carter's temperament, nor did I know why Willow endured it to this extent. I only knew none of this had anything to do with me anymore. Seeing my parents return with hot water, looking worried by the scene, I smiled and said, Mom, Dad, what are you standing there for? Let's go home. Willow and I had long since become two parallel lines that would never intersect. From now on, I am me. I will only live for myself.